Yeah, the TOOOL cuffs, they're some of the nicest we'd ever seen. And for quite a while, we couldn't get out of them. None of our friends could get out of them. Even like CP, the 949 guys, who are usually some of the nicest handcuffed people you'll see, like banging around parties with a bunch of cuffs on their arms. They frustrated these guys too. We didn't think anyone was going to be able to pick or manipulate their way out of TOOOLs. I was impressed when some, private, scary security contractor type guys from On Point Tactical were at my house one day, and they said, I've heard of these. These are kind of cool. And with enough tinkering, one fella named Phil, he was actually able to pick out. Now, he wasn't wearing them at the time, but it was a wonderful proof of concept where he said, all right, I've got this, bent piece of paper clip, and he just had to size it right, and he got that to reach in around the blocking blade and trip both levers. So we were like, yeah, whoa, we were all impressed, and let's celebrate, woohoo! So way to go, Phil. Now, it's not a crazy high-tech attack, but it's definitely one of the coolest things. I didn't think that would be possible, and that's why it pays to have really scary friends who are willing to just try it. Be like, no, fuck it, I'm just going to give it a try anyway. And sometimes you wind up with a cool attack like that. Now, I should point out, TOOOL takes it even further with their Pro Series, their Deluxe Series. In addition to having really nice silicone lining around the inside, so you don't need the fuzziness if you want to have some fun with these. They also, have a much tighter keyway. It's at a canted angle. If you're wearing these proper cuffed, palms out, there's almost no way you're going to get into that tight keyway. They have major shim protection now. They've even added basically what we call a crushing wheel. It's a spinning gear in the front that the paw can just ride across. But imagine slipping a shim in there. It'll just chew up and destroy. The shim will not get anywhere because of this grinding wheel. It is, again, just the fucking latest TOOOLs, the Deluxe Series TOOOLs, are probably the nicest cuffs I've ever seen. And they're heavy-duty aluminum alloy. So they're heavy duty, but they're not heavy. You can carry them like we, are usually carrying a bunch of cuffs around, and by the end of the day, it feels like your shorts are falling off. Not with the TOOOLs. They really do think of everything. All right, what was that? Oh, yes, one more. If you know like crazy, private security contractors from Iraq and stuff, they will teach you a lot of really, really wicked shit, man. This is Kelly, one of the other guys from On Point. And has anyone ever heard of like Kelly? Or have you seen any of these guys come around the show? Every now and then, when you see the sear pick guys, this evasion and escape. Anybody do any sear training? No, they won't admit it. There's like operators in the room, but they're just not going to raise their hands. So they will occasionally show you this trick, and we don't like doing it because if it doesn't work, it really, really hurts. And we're out $50 even if it does work. But has anyone ever heard of just handcuff breaking? Not like crazy. I'm a super strong man, like in the circus kind of handcuff breaking. Just leveraging physics, just being able to make the chains bind up. Because you know how some cuffs are hinged? A lot of departments have moved to that. In fact, when I was in Australia, cops were looking at the cuffs like, oh yeah. Here, can you hold this for a second? So this one cop's like, oh yeah, you got those cuffs, yeah, you're coming from America, right? And he starts doing this. And I'm like, oh, I know what you're talking about there. Yeah, handcuff breaking is when you can twist the chains around and try to get them to lock up on themselves. And then when the chains can't move and the eyelet can't swivel correctly, you can actually just crunch down. If you catch it just right, you can try to snap the chain or snap the eyelet off. And if it works...
Like this. Right?
Oh yeah, show.
Yeah, so right now, the links are bound together. If I were to snap any harder, this chain would probably break, especially since this is aluminum. Yes. And depending on the model of cuffs, they may bind differently. Sometimes, on some cuffs, the links will even loop over the eyelet, which makes it even easier. So you're going to try it?
I'm going to maybe try it. I don't know. If we can try it.
What do these cuffs cost, Deviant?
Oh, I don't want to think about it, man. I've broken a few of these when I've broken a few of them before. If you can keep trying to twist them around... They're almost in a spot. No. What I did, like in baking shows, where like, there's one I made earlier. What guys will do, if you go to the sear pick table, these diamond saw blades, these like little diamond file here, if you go inside the chains and you rough up the chains, you can sometimes get them to bind up on themselves. And I'd really like, maybe if I can do it in one hand. Let me try it one-handed here. Yeah, pick me out of one side. Because I don't want to sit here twisting them all day. All right. So the idea is to get the chain up on itself. If you can get the chain up on itself and not let it twist around any further, I can just kind of manually swing it into position almost. I don't know if it's going to go. I don't think it's going to go. Want to keep talking while I just keep trying to fuck with this over here? I want to try it.
If we've got a quick second, would you want to tell the story of the speed? No, not the story.
Okay, I've got it to twist around, and if I really don't want to hurt my wrist here.
And they're open!
That kind of hurts. Don't do that. Oh, you want to talk about how? I'll be all right in a second. I just need more whiskey. So yeah, variations in designs, different sizes of cuff can start to happen when you start introducing all these different features, like sizing the pawl differently, sizing a different pack of pawls. Imagine, a cuff body that's really narrow, like this one here, but a key that might be from another brand of cuff, where let's say there are multiple pawls. If you have a key, thank you, that's too wide, this key is not going to turn in that cuff at all. You guys understand that? It'll fit in the keyway, devil, but it won't actually be able to move. Now, that we run into that sometimes, especially when there's like a sea of cuffs on a table, like all of our collections, and we're like, oh man, which key went to which cuff? Here, I'll get you out of those if someone's stuck in the lockpick village. We're like, oh, wait a minute, no, I can't get you out of those. Wait, who's got a different key over here? That happens. And it became such a problem for law enforcement that a lot of law enforcement supply catalogs started offering what they would call universal keys. And usually these were just keys where the bit was cut down. Or oftentimes I think they were just keys that failed quality control and the bit was like way too small. So then they're like, hey, we could sell these as universals. All right, it'll turn, it'll always fit no matter how small the cuff is. Well, that's fine. That'll work really well. But remember, cuffs that have multiple pawls, like, Yules, or not, Yules would have multiple pawls, like this Kyung-Chang in this video especially, those triple pawls, when there's a lot of slop in there. Can you guys see this? This is a universal key trying to operate the Kyung-Chang, and it's catching some of the pawls, but not all of them at different times. So some go down, others don't. So it's probably not going to release these. And sometimes it can even, it'll slip like in between the pawls, or slip on, and then it'll like eat the key. That happened like 2 years ago. This poor kid, we're trying to close up the lockpick village, and he comes up to me, he's like, hey man, can you help me out? I'm like, oh sure, man. He's like some 12-year-old kid, right? I'm like, yeah, oh, you got stuck in those? Yeah, you need to be shown how to get out of them? He's like, no, I was in your lesson, you guys showed me. I'm like, oh, what happened? It's like, well, I tried this key and the key won't move, nothing will move. And I went, oh shit. So yeah, he didn't have to go home with them on his arm. We eventually snapped the key off and then put a new key in. But we kind of had an idea. We said, all right, this is a problem. The idea that you can't just carry around a single key that'll always work, even though they're all the same universal form factor. We said, all right, what if at our last tool meeting of 09, the Christmas meeting, I said, everyone bring your cuffs. We're going to Ed's shop. Ed has 1 billion cuffs, almost as many as Ray, maybe. I said, all right, everyone bring your cuffs, I'll bring mine. Everyone bring all the cuffs we've got, scatter them on a table. Measure all the cuffs, measure all the keys. Measure them really precisely. And start to chart out exactly how all these numbers crunch down. We said if we look at, because the key is like 4 dimensions, the shaft has a thickness, and the bit has a height and a width. If we chart all these numbers together and compare everything, including a few brands that need that split, do any patterns start to appear? Do any ranges and tolerances start to appear? As it turns out, yes, they do. And there is kind of like a Goldilocks style ideal key. We were able to find one. It absolutely can be workable. And now we can open up basically every kind of cuff that we have in this standard handcuff key form factor. So starting out, here are those crazy 3-pawl Kyung-Changs, which are one of the hardest ones that are always a problem. Sure enough, works on those. How about the peerless ones that are popular for a lot of police departments? This is a colorized model 700. Works on those. How about the new generation, the cheap peerless PO10s that are now fabricated in Korea? Works on those. How about old brands that aren't even really used much anymore? These are Winchesters. Works on those. I think this is a pair of maybe Chicago Cuff Company cuffs. Bang, works on those. Here is a pair of Smith & Wessons. Again, another really popular one. Here's the cheap little Valors. The Valors that are such a pain in the ass that no one likes to work with, you know. I think we have a pair of one of the Korean Yules just there. South African company, Republic Arms, works on those. Next beyond that, I think, is the British by RBS. No, I'm sorry, this is the ASP, used by a lot of tactical teams. ASP cuffs, works on those. British cuffs from the Hyatt's company and the RBS company. Hyatt's has now become Safariland, based out of the U.S., works on those. Does it work on the Scotland Yard RBS rapid cuffs? Yes, it does, works on those. We just kept going down the line, and even Ray now giving us some German police issue cuffs, works on those. It works on everything, and now, if you want to have one, well, this is the key. It's not really hard to make this. All we found is that you need tolerances of machining. You need to really be precise within about, I'd say, 1/10 of a millimeter or less. If you can machine things really close to these dimensions, you can absolutely have a key that fits in all these cuffs. You got to be a little careful occasionally. Those triple pawl cuffs, you have to be kind of right in the middle manually. It won't perfectly seat on its own, but it's narrow enough to work everywhere. What? The outer diameter of the shaft, 3.5 millimeter. The inner diameter, 2.9. The blade itself should be 5.5 tall, and it should be between 2.9 and 3.0 wide, with a 0.3 millimeter split down the very middle of the blade.
On the website, too?
Yes, this will all be on the web, but this is probably in your slide deck on the presentation CD. Now, what we published this for is because even though TOOOL did this research and we patented it, we only plan on maybe selling this to law enforcement if there's an interest in the market. We have no care if any of you want to do this on your own. We completely believe in Creative Commons and copyleft. If you want to make these, please do. If you want to make these and you want to come up to the Lockpick Village, we have a ton of a certain type of key that is ideal. If you look at this chart and start saying, all right, I need a key that's this wide, this tall, with these dimensions, immediately some keys get knocked off the list because they're just not the right starting dimension. They're too big, or I'm sorry, they're too small in some ways. Ultimately, the Kyung Chang and the Smith & Wesson key are the only real suitable candidates for getting this key to be, something you could shave down. But look how much metal you'd have to take off the Kyung Chang compared to a Smith & Wesson. Really, the Smith & Wesson key, the new style Smith & Wesson key, is freaking perfect. You have to narrow the bit slightly. It's already the right height. Then you drop a cut down the middle of it, and right there it is. We have these Smith & Wesson keys up in the village. We brought our calipers, we brought our Dremel tools, and just freaking go at it. Make your own and then try it in like every one of these cuffs that we got here and see if you did a good job. And if you want, you can take one of these home from DEFCON this very year. Yeah, is there anything else that we forgot to add? Any other tips we wanted to say there?
That key, is that the new thick one?
The question was, is that key the new thick key? Yeah, it's the one that has a thicker head stamped Smith & Wesson right on it.
I want to add that be careful with handcuff keys. Some states they're illegal to have if you are arrested. If you're arrested and have a handcuff key on you, you have to tell the police officer you have a handcuff key and have to take it away, or it's an automatic felony.
Yeah, Florida. Florida's one place you will become an automatic FARC headline.
I think we have 5 minutes for questions.
Yeah. So we even saved a little time for like 1 or 2 questions here, and then we'll go into the Q&A room and follow it up and do a lot of hands-on. Yeah, man.
The key with the split that you download there, I don't know how that works with the triple pawl.
The question was, does the split key, how does that work with the triple pawl? It's the split is small enough that you're never going to like lose the middle pawl through the split, so it functions just as a wide enough bit to be able to trip all 3 pawls if you center it. So you'll barely be catching the edge of the outer pawl, and the middle pawl is just hit by both sides of your split bit.
Yeah.
No, there's no-
Oh, yeah. He was thinking about the 3 pawls with a blade, but this is only this one Kyung-Chang I showed earlier. This is blades. It won't work on those, but these are not used. And as you see, put in a little and use a straight tool and push them all down. So.
Yeah. And like the ASPs that you need a split, you need the cut in the ASPs, you need the cut in the UL, but our key works in those.
Yeah, ASP has a 3-pawl one without blades and a 2-pawl